Good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking time on this busy day. I'm going to call the meeting to order and we'll get started. Can I have an approval for the draft minutes from May 19, please?
Approved. Motion approved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Where's Scott?
All in favor? All right. Oh, you're right. Okay. I asked Ray Pucci to join us this morning, and you remember at our last board meeting, we approved the membership in the Delaware County Chamber. It was the last meeting or the one before, I can't remember. But we approved a resolution to join the Delaware County Chamber. And the idea behind that was that we would have access to the growth wheel training program. And I asked Ray to come in today to give us a little explanation of the growth wheel program and what he could offer to our clients, loan clients as a training program. So, Ray?
Thank you, John. Let me pass out a couple things to you. Probably the easiest way to do this is take one and keep on passing. Got 3 sheets of paper, they'll both end up here when you're all looking on. I want to give you an idea of what growth wheel is. I mean, we've been hearing some things over the last couple years about it. And I want to just give you just a brief overview of what growth wheel is and how we may be able to implement some of the programs. So growth wheel is based on this circle, this growth wheel. And you'll see that there's 4 components to it. In the upper left, we have building the attractive business concept, strong organization, customer relations, and operations. Well, could you advance that, please? Just move down. Here we go. And if we were to break this up, the top is how to create value. It's more of that external focus. So we have the business concept and the customer relations. The information that I gave you is going to really give you some detailed information. We're not going to, I know you have a full meeting, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. Lillian, could you advance that, please? Next is the bottom, the lower 2, I should say, is the internal focus, how to become more efficient. So how to build that strong organization and how to create more profitable operations. Excuse me while I turn off the lights here in the front. That might be a little bit better. Lillian, move ahead if you would, please. And then on the left side, it's how to set up the business. It's building the business concept and how to create that strong organization, Lillian. And again, on the right side, it's how to run the business. So creating those lasting customer relations and a profitable, at least we hope profitable, operation. Move ahead, please. So that creates the 4 corners, 4 cornerstones, if you will, of that profitable business. Move ahead, please. In each of those operating groups, you have a total of 20 different segments. And if you look at what I handed you, you see growth wheel 360-degree screening. Did you move that on that? Let's just quickly look at each of the 4 concept areas. In the business concept, we have business idea, product portfolio, revenue model, customer portfolio, market position. Keep moving, please. Organization, its ownership and board, employees, partnership, business processes, and legal issues. Building trust in customer relations, networking. Thank you, John. Marketing, sales and service communication and PR, and finally branding, and finally operations, making money. creating those profitable operations. So it's looking at financials, funding, production and deliveries, IT systems and facilities. And we're just gonna leave that up. I think that's my last frame there. So with the 360 screening, one of the things Jim and I had discussed is as a way to introduce this concept to help support, fortify the businesses that you're working with. Because let's face it, many of them are startups, maybe they're pre-startups, maybe they've had some difficulty in the past. So we need to, more than just give them a loan and say, good luck. It's how you're going to really support that business and make that business more profitable and more sustaining. It starts with that 360 screening. And what Jim and I had discussed is perhaps offering this program, a program, once a month, once every couple of months, in an hour, where your lendees would participate in this. It can be done in a virtual setting. It can be done in person here in this space, and really take them through that screening. Let's identify what are the areas that they think they need the most help with, and walk them through that screening process. So the way it works, and let me back up just half a step. Growth Wheel is I think one of the, if not the premier trainer of business planning professionals in the world. They have 5 offices around the world, quite literally. They're based here in Delaware County, in Bovina. David Mady is the founder, president, now lives in Bovina. Some of you have met David because you funded the Montessori school. And so Growth Wheel is a Delaware County based business. A few years ago, a little bit more than 3 years ago, David we had about 15 or 16 people who were trained as Growth Wheel certified business advisors. I think I'm of those 15 or 16 that we had locally at DCMO, BOCES, and other places. I may be the only one that's left and actually using this with people. I right now have probably about 5 active clients that I'm working with through Growth Wheel. So to that 360 screening, what your clients will do is identify what are those areas that they feel strong in, that they feel lacking in, and they'll just start filling this out, coloring it in. So if they say communications and PR, well, I feel okay about that. Maybe I'm at a 50%. So they'll fill in that 50%. And what this is going to do is give them a visual representation of those areas that they feel they really need to strengthen within their business. Hopefully, it's not going to be blank, or hopefully it's not all going to be 25%. Now, obviously, you're looking at these categories and you're seeing it on this sheet, and you're thinking, well, yeah, those are all the different things that you have to do when you're running a business. Obviously, you can't do all these things at once, so you have to start thinking in terms of how do I prioritize? What are my next steps? And the Growth Wheel model is really all about how you take those next steps. Could you advance that? I don't think there's another. So it's about what decisions you have to make, what actions that they take, and that would be the output
if you will, from that small group or one-on-one session. If you look at the back of that growth wheel, you will see. That's your last of that?
Yep.
That is, okay. Again, we're divided into the 4 operation segments. And it's, okay, what are those things? If you're, we'll focus on communication and PR. If that's an area of weakness, what I'm gonna ask them to do as they go through this, let's identify 2, no more than 3 things that they can work on. We're not gonna work on 20. They're gonna get lost. They're gonna get overwhelmed. They're gonna say, hell with this. I'm not, this is not part of what I can do. So we're gonna focus on those 2 or 3 with them. And then really get them thinking, what are the things that I need to, what are those steps that I can take? One of the tools that I use with them, with clients, is we create that 30, 60, 90-day plan using other worksheets, using other decision sheets, and really get them to focus. What are the things that we need to do and take responsibility for those things? Now, one of the programs that the chamber just launched along with Growth Wheel is our online academy. And these are courses. Right now we have actually this shows 7 or 8. They've added a couple since we published this in some of those different areas that you saw in the growth wheel. Each of those courses, thank you, Glenn, each of those courses will run anywhere between 45 minutes at least. It could be a couple, 3 hours, depending upon, it's on demand, it's a video. So they're going to stop. They're going to work with the decision sheets that come with that particular course. Again, it's about what we talked about a few minutes ago. It's about making decisions and then taking action. That's at its core, the purpose of, that's the strength that Growth Wheel brings. So the next step after that single session, is that folks can decide, and maybe this is part of what you want to require, and maybe you identify and approve what course you want them to take based on what you have here. And by the way, this can be done on paper, as this is, or it can be done online. So I'll certainly have, if they do it online, I'll have a copy. And we just, we share that with whomever within the LBC IDA Economic Development. You can approve that class. They complete that class. Again, you're looking for actionable items. If they wish to start a longer business counseling, business advising relationship, I'm happy to do that as well, and maintain that contact and work through those decision sheets that we have. I mean, we quite literally have 200, those 20 different project areas that you saw. Each of those different areas are supported by 5 or 10 different decision sheets. Again, it could be something as simple as creating your elevator pitch. Fill in the blank, is it perfect? Is it refined? No. But how many people do you talk to? Which, give me your elevator pitch, huh? What's that? Don't even know where to start. This gives them that place to start. Questions?
From a cost perspective, how much, and is this something, Jim, that we're looking at? So if someone has a need that the IDA would support, or what's our thought process?
Here's my thought on that. The initial program where you fill in the wheel.
There's nothing.
It's free. There's no charge
So
for
it's an
that.
online.
And I think that's.
No, that's something that I would do, and there's no cost involved.
Right. And beyond that, I believe it's what, $40,
It's 95 for each of those.
95.
Each of
Yeah,
those
95.
classes.
And what I would, and this is a board decision, and I think we need to talk about what I would like to see is we come up with a formula where we pay say 50% of the courses that they take up to X number of courses. And my thought on that is twofold. Number one, from the legislative standpoint, and I think we have to take some steps to prove that we are different from and better than a bank lending situation. And the reason for that is we've got several state senators that are taking pot shots at IDAs on the state level. And I think it's important that we differentiate ourselves right there. Number two, I think we're going to end up being better off as far as our clients and their success with their loans. So it's kind of, there's a little.
Would we, I heard the word requirement, would we make it a requirement potentially, or maybe that's.
That's a board decision.
Okay.
I mean, yes, we could take it to the point where we require that they go through
Whatever section.
the first section, the free part, and then from there on in, it's completely voluntary.
And just to speak to logistics for just a second. The online academy is just that, it's all online. People register online and everything else. We can create a specific code for the IDA LDC that you would have, you would be the only one distributing that code to anybody. And so someone can register and that code is worth 50% or, whatever it may, you decide. And they would be responsible for the other cost involved. And I think we could probably also put a limit on how many times that person could use that code. Haven't had that instance yet, but I think makes sense that we should be able to do that.
Do we make the circle part of the application so that we know what skill set? Yeah, I mean, we do a write up and says, I've been in the state for 20 years now, I'm going on my own. But if we have the circle that tells us what skill set we have, which would make easier or harder deciding whether they.
I think in a perfect world, yes, that would work, but with the way our applications come in, with the lead time that we have to work on, it's sometimes going to be difficult to make that an absolute. But I think that certainly we should do it within a very short time period of when we close or when we approve the loan.
And Bruce, you may have some applicants that come in, you look at this and say, what are they thinking? This is an automatic, this is a no, this is not a project that we think is feasible. You could ask, make that an option for them later. Here's an option, here's a service that the IDA LDC is offering with the chamber. Take that class and you can, not the on-demand class, but rather go through that process of going through the growth wheel, the 360-degree assessment. And that hopefully will build for a better, stronger application later.
I mean, all theory of we ask everybody to submit a business plan to us, and the theory of having them do a business plan is it forces them to think about different questions and so forth and so on. And in some cases, I'm sure there's not a lot of thought that goes into the business plan.
One of the real strengths of growth wheel is as you're going, as a client, as you're going through that process, as you're answering those questions, as you're inputting the data, as you're making your sales projections, as you're putting information about your company, maybe you developed a logo, you know, whatever it may be, you're entering that into that online platform, that creates that business plan for you. And create something that it creates a PDF that you can just send or print or do whatever you want. I didn't bring any copies of examples, but that's really what this program will do. And growthwheel.com, take a look. You can see what's available. It'll give you another, you know, a bit more of an overview than the short overview that I presented here this morning. Like I said, I think it's small business development centers around the country are using Growth Wheel as their platform. New York is not, because SBDC in New York is more personnel heavy than they are technology heavy, no surprise. So New York does not, but 38 states in the United States, SBDC use Growth Wheel as their platform, and quite literally around the world, from you know, in some of the trainings, the recertifications that I've gone on, there have been business Growth Wheel advisors from Malaysia, the Mideast, South Africa, quite literally around the world. Great.
Any other questions? And we can kick it around later and come up with
Let me know if you have
some kind of.
if you need anything. I have to run out.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
but yeah, let me.
Thank you, Ray.
Good seeing y'all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
The original is.
And yes, yes. But it gets them, you know, again, it gets them, you know, only they can really do that. I mean, I'm not gonna come from the outside and say, you know, your communication sucks. I'm gonna guide them through that, but they're the ones doing the work. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
You know,
Okay, do we want to kick this around now, or do you want to do it at a later time? Okay, yep,
And we can look at the website.
good, thank you.
If anything that helps the business owner get started with it, and whether they use it or not, is their choice.
I just,
But
the question, the data coming in, who's gonna be able to go, because it'll be a load more than we get now, right? And again, without knowing what the data that's created by this, the PDFs that are created, it'll be a lot more to go through.
Okay,
Maybe that's good. The other question is how much delinquency have we had on some of these business, I know one, it's obvious, but.
right, but even if we use it as an option for them. You're starting a business and you're looking for things that might help you, and now you have a selection where you could choose it, where it's utterly your choice.
I think our delinquencies have been very favorable, I feel. And I talked to Scott a lot about, you know, failure rates and so forth, and you know, we're in really good shape. I don't know whether it's good luck or good luck. It's,
I think it's a little both.
you know, we do deal with a lot of situations that are not bankable at all. And, you know,
We're taking a risk.
we take a lot of risk.
The question is whether if you have more information, would you change your mind? I don't know. I'll answer that.
Yeah, or.
I don't look at it more so much as us changing our mind. I look at it more changing the mindset of the client. And some of the questionable clients, and maybe changing their business plans.
Yeah, I mean, I have people who come to me who don't even have an idea how to do a business plan.
Right,
So I think having this structure where they can go and look at it, see these are questions or answers that they need, will help them, will stop them from wasting our time and their
Yeah.
time. And I think would be very helpful.
And
And
the
so
way that,
the resource, for example, to your point, if they have questions, would the resource be Ray? Or what, is there
Yeah.
a bigger, behind him, there's a.
well, there's a whole,
Behind
the whole organization behind him. He's one of the see, Evan used to be certified
That's.
in growth wheel for us when he was here, and then when he left, we never got anybody else certified. We could get others certified, but frankly, with the load that.
I'm not sure if this is a direct, at me or.
No, well, you and Sean,
Yeah,
but
Thanks for coming.
but my feeling is that, the two of you have got enough workload. And we've got Ray right here as a free resource, and it costs us $99 a year to belong to the chamber, and for that, we get him as a resource.
Sounds to me, it could be the difference between a business surviving and thriving, potentially. For a lot of
But it-
businesses.
It also gives them the opportunity to look and say, oh, I didn't really think about this and I'm weak in that. But making it their choice and not saying you have to take X, Y, and Z, or we're not gonna help you.
Yeah, that's why when I heard required, I was a little nervous.
That was my,
It may be a good idea, I listened to required and then we don't want to disincentivize people either.
You could staple it to the bank refusal letter.
well, I think it's important as we go forward here to realize that IDAs are gonna come under more and more scrutiny from the state. And we're gonna have, I think it's important to show that we're different from a bank. And, that we serve a purpose that the banks aren't meeting. And otherwise, we're just gonna get beat to death. by
And
this.
we've got the resource right here, which is nice too.
Yeah.
And that also tells us why we should be putting more into LDC and out of the IDA and make the IDA portion of it more of a helping hand.
Yeah.
And then the LDC
Yeah.
be the lending hand,
Yeah,
because they are gonna squash IDAs eventually. right?
oh, I see it coming, and it's gonna, that's why we're making the moves, and you can see that in the loan reports. But that's why we started making that move a year ago, and, we're taking the lending right out of the IDA, and we're not doing any new loans there. Because the IDAs are gonna be used for, in our case, it's gonna be used for holding real estate that we own, and it's gonna be used for doing pilot agreements on taxes, and it's gonna be used for doing bonding on large projects. That, other than that, the IDA is not gonna exist.
Okay.
That's the direction we're headed in. I need Glenn here to do the financial report.
Grab him or?
He's on the phone call.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, somebody got him. But, I do think that, this growth wheel is a legitimate program, and I think it's very worthwhile. I've seen the paperwork on it, and I've seen his reports, and they're very voluminous, but they're very thorough. And I thought, since we have the owner sitting right here in Bovina.
Yeah.
And he is a client of ours already. With the school,
It's good for us to promote what we're doing.
I think it just all fits together.
How big a crew do they have over there behind them?
At the school, or
Generally speaking, at the headquarters.
I think he's done the whole thing. I think he's set this whole business model up virtually.
Okay, so it's pretty lame then.
Yeah, it's lean as far as number of people, but he covers the whole world. It's pretty interesting, the way it's set up that way. The school, I don't know what the employee base is at the school, but
Did you start it in Holland or Denmark or?
yeah, it started out someplace in Europe and then it's brought into the US. Yeah,
Interesting.
but yeah. His school is started out with he came to us, his business plan initially required 25 students to break even. And so he didn't start up until he hit 25 registrations. And he instantly jumped to 30 plus. And I think he's up around close to 40 now. And
Heard really good things about the school over there.
yeah,
How do you like your new job so far?
I like it. My training was interesting. So yeah, it was good to be back in the office this morning. I really felt so while I was at my training, there was a lot of people that had way more experience than 1 month. And the language that they were speaking intimidated me quite a bit, actually, because I was like, I've been at this job for a month. And also, this was just like very basic. I solely specialize in ag. So these programs were just, very open to typical industrial and, whatever else. But yeah, I like it. Settling in.
Good. I like seeing you at the other meetings.
Thank you.
I've been at quite a few meetings
Yeah,
that I've been, so that's been good. I like that. Because that's the way you can learn what everybody's doing.
Right.
Attending these meetings, sometimes they're boring, but
yeah,
did you have some stuff prepared?
I did.
You want to get into that?
I can if you would like.
You go.
So I just have some brief conference notes that Glenn wanted me to go over. Some things that I learned. So as I said, my experience was intriguing. I learned a lot from a variety of different people. There were different speakers every day. And some of them varied from, banks to people who were sitting on the IDA board, to economic developers, college reps. I found it very interesting that there were like 3 different colleges there that were basically there to help structure their pipeline better with the workforce, which I felt was very important. And that was one of the strong points that I took away, was that the workforce and the pipeline is critical, and feel that I should be doing more in our own county to, make that possible, like going and talking to our local schools. When I was in school, I had no idea what economic development was. I mean, I knew Glenn, but I had no idea what he did and how much was, put into it. So I feel like now that I'm back and had this experience, that I should maybe step out and talk to SUNY Delhi and their ag program or vet sci program. It kind of all wraps into one. I learned specifically about community development and strategic planning. So I did a lot of delving into that. And when I first got there, they broke us out into groups. And so basically throughout the 4 days, we had to work strategically with our groups and come up with how we could make Chautauqua County a better place with the infrastructure and buildings that were there. And then present it on Thursday before we got our certificates. It was a very long day on Thursday. I learned a lot about incubators and their importance. That was actually part of our business plan, was to implement an incubator in this 3-story building in Chautauqua County. I learned about real estate and how that there is not a lot of shovel-ready sites. And I learned that maybe the IDA should, in maybe some counties, it would vary, I guess, but I feel like the IDA should maybe help make these shovel-ready sites and then resell them as like our investment and try and like give back so that they are ready and they don't have to go through these process like Tiberio. He's still going through that. And truthfully, my favorite takeaway was the diversity in the workplace. There was a female that came in and she was of color and she was excellent. She, from every perspective that she could think of, she brought it out, and that was definitely my favorite topic that was touched on, because I feel it's not touched on enough. And maybe there's not a lot of credit given to her. And another one of my favorites was basically reflecting on myself and how I can work on, things when I get back here and what I should be better at doing for my own community. So you asked me to do a presentation and you missed it. That's fine.
I know, you're gonna give it to me again later, sorry. That's fantastic hearing that, because a lot of things you just discussed, we do.
Mhm.
We're trying to get job sites, or land sites ready, developed and ready to move, and so it's good. Yeah, that was fantastic.
Thank you.
Lindsay, one of the things, and I like is your comments about trying to work with SUNY Delhi. And I think that's a real plus. I might suggest that you have a conversation with Wayne. Because Wayne is on the college council here at SUNY Delhi.
I'll send you an
Yeah, have that
email.
conversation.
Yeah, sure.
You should also talk to Brady Dutcher a little bit. He's doing that in the schools, in the high schools.
Yeah, that's my where it begins. And I felt like a lot of the reps that were there from colleges maybe haven't gotten to that step of reaching out to, high schools, because like I said, I had no idea, and I'm sure these kids don't know either.
We have an intern from the Walton School working at Soil and Water. Senior in high school, and
Right.
it's just a great program, gets them interested and tells them the different needs. And with the Delaware County Soil and Water, our interns, probably 60% of them working for us, so.
Yeah, they came to the core group meeting, right?
So, yeah.
Yeah, I talked to them afterwards and I said, what did you think of that? And they're like, it was super long. And I'm like, well, that happens.
But, yeah, so that's a great way to go.
And don't forget that Sean is also on the school board at DA.
What do you think?
I think it sounds like a great idea.
Okay, good.
Well, it gives direction to our students that they can work here locally if they want. They can go to college and come back here and work where they would live.
Right, and I feel that's the problem that a lot of counties are having now is that they get out of college and then there's no workforce for them, and that was a problem in Chautauqua County. The project that we did was that they had a ton of people coming in for school and then they would leave, and now the elderly population is still staying because it's cheaper to live, and so that was also very interesting to learn.
That's a big challenge for upstate New York.
Yeah.
It's all over the United States. NYACD board, I'm on the Soil and Water districts. They're talking colleges all over the state because we're getting our employees, we're stealing them from other soil and water districts, so that's not the answer, we need new blood.
Right.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Sounds like a good week.
It was.
Perfect. Any other questions for Lindsay?
How many people were in your class?
I think there were about 40 to 50. Yeah, it was big and I was the youngest one there. So that was also very interesting. I met a young woman, she was maybe 28 and she never went to college, and she was working or is working for Empire State Development. So I was like, dang, she went into this with no college degree and now I'm going into it with a college degree and I'm freaking out over nothing. So.
Well, having those contacts with those 40 or 50 people will maybe down the road will say, hey, I can reach out to this person afterwards.
Yeah, I definitely met a lot of new people that were able to get me resources that were, and I think will be helpful. Yeah.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. Okay, I'll go back up to the treasurer's report.
Okay, treasurer's report. On the IDA, nothing really to report there, other than that, you'll notice that the Bank of Cooperstown account is significantly lower. That was the transfer to the LDC to support the IRP loan fund. Then, so carrying on with that on the LDC side, we now do have a line for IRP number 5. Totally, we have $950,000 available to us. There's $350,000 in the account. The rest is drawn down as we have applicable loans coming in that we put towards it. So the first time we go through this, it's a little bit of a process, but just after you guys approve a loan, then we have to pitch it to USDA, and as long as they approve it, then they send the money enough to cover their share of each loan. So the way it works, I didn't do the math, but we've committed 200,000. That breaks down to a percentage. So let's just say roughly 20%. So each time we approve a loan, they only send us 80% of the funding. The rest is from what we had in the account from the Cooperstown transfer.
And their approvals percentage wise or match ours pretty good as far as.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's not they approve it on viability or any business things, that's up to us. They're like, oh, is all your legal documentation correct? Is all your environmental stuff submitted? It's more of a technical guideline check kind of thing. That we all have more later on.
Thank you.
Yeah. So with that, our availability of funds is pretty good, which is good because we do have a lot of interest out there currently. And if we can, I'll just continue on to the loan report. Number 4, I will reach out to them. This is not atypical. It's annoying. Typically, they pay in bunches of 6 to 8 months at a time. Their season has gotten underway. They've already done a number of jobs I'm aware of. They do have an exclusive with a local venue where they're the sole caterer. And I know they're already on their 7th or 8th wedding. So I'll just say, hey, it's time. Season started again. Number 10, we're working with them to get them on auto pay. This is my fault that it's gotten to this extent. I didn't realize that they were that far out. And so I will get on that when I get back to the office. Number 13, that's a legacy holding. They are making payments on a regular basis, but they just had a very long window where things had not gone well. Number 14, 15, 16, we're in the process of coming to agreement on a new revised schedule to get them back up in payment, which would start in September. We're still working on details of that. Number 17. So up until about, did I talk about this at the last meeting? No, so then it's within the last month. So up until about a month ago, it was our understanding that we had a first mortgage on this property. And then, surprise, our prior attorney never did a search, and we have a second mortgage on this property. Luckily, the first mortgage is very small. I think it's like $42,000, not entirely significant. However, I just got served with papers yesterday that they are foreclosing. Which is fine. I've already talked to Carly about this. We'll follow, we'll get on board with everything we need to do. And ultimately, unless they're willing to buy us out, they can foreclose, but it doesn't mean anything unless they take us out as well. So just there we are, and it's why we no longer use that former attorneys. Number 21, that's a legacy thing. They are on automatic payment, but their payments are very small. They had a lengthy deferment that we granted based on their planning board issues. And so honestly, that balance will probably be paid off essentially at the same time the loan is paid off in full. But they're paying every month now on auto pay. Number 11, Tabitha's been working on this one. I'm sure you guys have an issue with this one too, Andy.
Yep.
Yeah, I was talking with Andy earlier.
Yeah.
Would it make sense? Because I understand, Andy told me it's closed.
Yes.
Would it make sense for us to go to the point of filing liens on everything along with Andy's?
I mean, we do on this one have a verified, it's harder for me to say that now. We have a verified first mortgage position on this property, co-equal with the village of Sydney. So we have that, but we can,
Andy brought up a point where he was concerned that there might be sale of some of the contents.
Yeah.
And equipment that is covered by the existing.
yep, yeah,
Mortgage.
I'll talk that over with our attorney.
I spoke with
Unfortunately, I have some things to do with her anyway.
about 3 weeks ago, and he always says, I have a fire in the works.
Yes, that's the story he's been giving Tabitha, and it's, oh, just give me a week, yeah. Oh, I'm changing accounts, yeah.
Yeah, so like Jim said, I would prefer that we get something here, like protect what our assets are.
Yep. So number 19, they are now on automatic payment. When we switched to them, they were behind 2 payments. Then we had some issues with their account, so they're on auto pay, paying extra to get caught up. But they are now on auto pay.
Perfect.
Number 38, we're still working that one out. That's just. It's gonna not be to our satisfaction. Number 51 paid this week, so that was after this was done.
Great.
Are there any questions on that? It's gotten a little bit, in my opinion, it's gotten a little bit worse over the last meeting, and it's just, my attention's been elsewhere. We just gotta redirect a little bit.
Glenn, with 38, do we have any type of assets that we can access there, or is he sold all those assets?
He sold it, whether he sold it legally or not is where we're working on a determination. And even if he did sell it illegally, how far do we, what can we do? You know, other than, we can place liens on them, we can get a judgment against them. And, those are options, but there's costs involved, and we'll weigh what those are.
Yeah.
At the proper time.
All right, any other questions? So can I have a motion to approve the financial reports and to pay the bills?
I so move.
Second,
Second.
any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, thank you. Glenn, you want to zip right down to Catskill Regional
I
Harvest?
do, and this is related, but I just want to go back to one of our loan customers. And I just have to, I have a nickname for her that sticks in my head, so I have to just get that up and look at it. So number 12 under the IDA. Number 12 under the IDA. Her business was doing pretty well. She put a new truck on the road. That caused a little bit of cash flow issues. So she had to make some cuts in her expenditures. And she cut out her homeowner's insurance. And she had a total loss fire last weekend.
Oh.
Yep. So she still plans on continuing with the business. Luckily it's food truck related, so the food truck wasn't damaged. So right out of the gate, we offered her 3 months. Don't even worry about talking to us for 3 months, and we'll figure it out during that time. Also on an emergency basis, so she could continue to use her business while we still own it, and while we're temporarily we've offered her use of Catskill Regional Harvest at no cost. I mean, she's there, she does a little bit of baking and that's it.
Anything to keep her.
And our other current tenant there has agreed to accommodate her in the walk-in cooler that she uses, which is all she needs. Without, any type of, oh, well, I'm giving up part of my space, I needed it. So they're working together on it in partnership. There's really not any added expense and there's no other way for her to continue to.
Glenn, it's $8,300 on the loan. So it's not a big deal. I would suggest that we extend it to 6 months. That would cover her through the summer.
Yeah. Oh, I'm more than willing to do that. And she's like, no, give me 3 months to get
Oh,
my head
okay,
on,
all right.
and then I'll.
So then you could extend it.
Give me 3 months and I don't even have a place to live.
Right.
Like, that's so sad. I
Yeah.
feel so bad for
Well,
her.
so she,
Just living in the truck.
no, she's got a GoFundMe campaign to help buy a camper. That she's,
And you're gonna send her an extension, correct?
yes, yep,
So just for the 6 months there.
okay, and then she can come back early if she wants.
Yeah.
Yep,
You could also at some point just forgive the loan. I'm not thinking that is a practice. But. Anyway, it's. food
Let's
for-
see how it goes. with the
yeah,
extension.
I think as she gets
See what it looks like.
her head wrapped around this, I think. I wasn't gonna propose it, but. We can talk about that definitely.
Yeah.
Otherwise, without knowing, I don't know the business, but it's a successful business. that we know of.
Yes, I mean, she put on, so there's, it's not a truck I would patronize. But apparently a lot of, yeah, it's too healthy. It's all gluten-free and vegan and all this stuff and,
You
yeah.
call it hell.
You just
on
said
wheels.
three bad words in a row there.
yes, exactly. So, but yeah, she's in demand. I know like events that look for vendors. She's done a bunch of events in
Did she do the
demand.
Dairy Fest? I'm trying to remember the trip.
I think that was the weekend, so she might not have been there, but it's a red and white.
I can't remember, right?
Yeah.
If it was, I would have
Yeah.
ignored it anyway.
Yeah, but she does a lot of Oneana events and stuff like that.
Yeah.
and, Yeah, yeah, it seems pretty popular.
With some.
I mean, enough so that she was putting on a second truck. Yes, exactly. With some.
Did she have a mortgage on her house?
No, she owned it outright. Yeah.
Because
Yeah, and it is gone.
It's gone.
There's nothing there.
yeah, but usually when we cancel your insurance, the bank places it for you.
Yeah, no,
And charge
she,
you for it.
So she was clean.
yep, she's been on everything.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the way.
It's an interesting choice, so that's the
Of
last thing.
all the things, of all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't think that's gonna happen to you.
Yeah,
Not until you take the insurance off.
Yeah.
Then you can count, it, right?
Yeah. So, okay, so, all right, so now let's just go into Catskill Regional Harvest. Let's start at, so in the packet, there was a proposed vendor settlement, proposal, outlining the funds that were raised to date. And my proposal for paying off the agricultural vendors.
I was fine with it.
Were there any questions or concerns on that? Now, just to be aware, this does not cover all of that business's debts locally or beyond. But we had made a concerted effort to cover the agricultural vendors because that's
Right.
why the IDA entered into this project. And so if this is approved and moving forward, what my plan would be is to reach out to these vendors. I'll have a one-page agreement that they would sign. where they acknowledged that our sole role in this was as landlord and lender to the business, that these are not our responsibility, but for blah, 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 we've made the decision to help them out. And then a statement that they say that says, by signing this, you waive any, actions against the IDA or the LDC.
And I would like to have Lillian work with you to do an article to promote the fact that we have done this, to counteract some of the bad press that we got.
Okay.
Okay, so you need a motion for approval of that?
Yes,
So
yeah,
moved.
if everybody's good. Okay.
Interesting.
I'll second that.
Right.
Official.
Oh, you make the minutes. All right.
I jumped in. You were here.
Okay,
And it's just what it says on here, we're gonna pay the local ones here, they're paid in full.
Yep.
What this
Yes.
thing says. And then somebody else is getting 67% of their paid off.
the out of county
Yeah.
vendors,
Sounds good.
agricultural vendors. Okay, we have a motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, thank you. Sewage Works,
Oh, no, let's stay on Casco Regional
Oh.
Harvest.
Oh, I was gonna ask, but go ahead.
Yeah, so. Oh, it was just an FYI,
oh, yeah.
in the packet that we did go out with the RFP for the proposal for the property.
Yep.
If you saw it in there, to date, I couldn't, so it went to the reporter in the Mountain Eagle. Who said they were gonna do articles on it. I haven't had a chance to read this week's papers yet. But then in addition to that, it was sent to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other individuals or realtors, or we had one outfit out of North Carolina request a copy of the RFP. It is like kind of like an engineering firm type thing, so who knows what's going on with that. And last meeting, Jim had mentioned someone who was potentially interested. And there was some potential enthusiasm for that project. He has said he's not interested at this time. Yes, so basically, we're getting this out there. And I've asked for responses back by July 19th. And we'll see what we get. And this doesn't have to be a one and done process. We can, if there's nothing we like, we can handle this however the IDA wants to see fit to move forward.
Okay, so when you get them back, can you at least send us some information on them so we can?
Basically, we would, I mean,
Well, I'd like to see it before the meeting.
yeah, it would go out in your packet. All this would go out in the packet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Glenn, just an interesting point for everybody is the business that decided that they were not interested anymore. The reason that they made that decision was because of the low traffic count at that location, and we use the DOT traffic counts website. And the traffic count that DOT had listed there was from 2017.
Right.
Which was pre-COVID, and that was a whole different world than what we have here now. So they're way out of date on their traffic count, and that cost us a good business opportunity.
Could we put a request in on the count?
I'm sure they're in the process of updating it. They usually do it every 5 years when it's published.
They're all over Walton right now.
Yeah.
Counters. We're gonna cable across the road.
It's probably a request you can make if you want to speed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt. I mean, we've done it with the county several times, and they've been pretty reactive. So.
I mean, that'll be too late for us, but what we're.
Right.
Yeah,
But if someone else is interested, then they'll shoot them. Yeah,
yeah, it would be.
yes.
You don't wanna do it in February?
Not unless those tubes will pick up snowflakes.
We could hire two, we go back and forth.
That's been done too.
Okay.
Also on Catskill Regional Harvest, and sorry, this one, this was one Sean has been working on. And he decided to get married, so he took most of this week off. So that's why he's not here.
Oh, right.
Well, it only takes 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. It's not getting married until tomorrow.
So then he's out next week, right?
Only part of the week. It was by his choice.
You're a good boss.
I gave him Tuesday off. He wasn't gonna take it, and I told him on Monday, I'm like, you still want to get married on Saturday, you better not be in here tomorrow. I heard one of their conversations, so. But anyway, so there is another business that is interested in a understandably, a very short time rental out at Catskill Regional Harvest. They found themselves in a bit of a jam in terms of production. A good one in that it's just demand for their products have expanded faster than their capacity can keep up. Currently, they're basically working out of a certified but home-based sized kitchen, and they just need a little bit more. So I haven't had a chance to talk to Sean about this, but from what they're looking at, it's looking about like 2 days a week, probably 10 hours a day. They have already spoken to our other tenant and they don't feel they're perfectly fine working together, not going to be an issue. Our existing one rarely uses the kitchen. Usually it's just the dishwasher at night. Maybe a minimal amount of prep work, and they can easily schedule that in and out. So, yeah. So if you're fine, I'd like to enter into agreement with them. Similar terms as with our
On
existing.
resolution.
Yeah, that'd probably be best.
Okay,
Yep.
motion.
So.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Right.
How long are you looking to use that for?
As long as we own it. You know, through the summer if possible, but if it's not, they can at least get some inventory, they can get caught up on orders, get some, it's a shelf stable product. It's like spaghetti sauces and stuff like that. If they can get in there, they can get caught up, they can build up an inventory, and if they move, if they build a new one, this may lead into a project with us anyways. This is kind of just a Band-Aid, you know, type of situation until they can figure out where they're going.
Keeps the building in use and all the
Right.
appliances running and.
Yeah.
Instead of just sitting.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Good.
Just a question on the proposal requirements. Assuming, since we said it before, that it's possible that this is back to the.
Yeah.
We've set a floor of 450, okay. Assume we have some fairly close proposals above the 450 range, let's assume that, let's hope for that.
Yeah.
There's 3 or 4 items in here where we said, hey, we want to see the business plan, I want to see jobs creation rate. How do you weight those when, and this is a more of a general question, maybe, how do we weight those as an IDA? If the proposals come in close, then do we focus on the jobs? Do we focus on the business plan? I mean, business plan could show that their growth will far out.
Yeah,
Pacing.
all,
Okay, so
you know,
it's-
liability.
I just don't, what I'm trying to make sure is that there's no bias that creeps in there, that someone comes back and says, wait a minute, you know, that's all I'm concerned about is.
So
There's
that's
a
why,
little subjective.
that's why
in
the
there.
RFP lists more than just the price. If it just lists the price, then you don't go with the highest price, then you got an issue.
Right.
But you listed other categories that we're looking at. I mean, and y'all know the location isn't always the best because it's not in a village. And
Right.
Depending upon use.
Right.
For some, it's a great, for some, it's, so, yeah.
I was just curious, the bias might come out at some point if they're close bids and we say, oh, based on jobs, but the other person says, hey, my business plan shows I'm gonna exceed those jobs in 3 years, in 2 years.
Well, then we would take that into account.
Okay.
And by we, I mean the voting board members of the IDA.
Okay.
We're covered by officers and liability insurance.
Thank you.
And we have the right to not believe.
But we're also looking at what's the best for the town.
Yeah, yeah, understood.
Okay, so. I think that's all I had with Catskill Regional Harvest,
Okey-doke.
yes. Delhi Sewer Works, yeah, go ahead.
Last question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any other equipment left or?
Oh, we didn't touch any of the kitchen equipment or any of the bar equipment.
And is our intent to do that after we sell the building, or is it gonna go with the building?
Well, if there's an opportunity, if someone wants it for an entirely different purpose.
Yes.
And it would be my hope that we would negotiate that that was not part of the sale and.
So there's potentially more equipment dollars available.
Could be.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
And then maybe we'd be able to pay, ourselves back for. Maybe, yes, maybe. Yeah. Okay, Sewage Works Corp, so there's a profit and loss cash basis. And balance sheet included in your packet for FYI. Things are going okay. Still working in conjunction with the Village of Delhi and the engineer on the study to jointly address all of the needs of us, both contractual wise and upgrade wise, between the pipeline and the wastewater treatment plant. And it's just slow moving process.
What's causing the hold up on the study, the engineer?
Yeah, the engineer, everybody moves at a pace. And it's not just the engineer we hired. The engineer we hired relies on data provided by the companies and by the village. And, so everybody's got their own timetable for replying to information.
My only concern is that we've now lost another construction season.
Mhm.
And so it's going to be another year before we can even dream of putting it back on the ground.
Right.
And, I know DEC is going silent. But how long is that silence going to last
Mhm.
is a concern.
Right.
I don't know, I'm getting a little.
Well, also, there's complete radio silence from the industries.
I
They
got it.
will not respond
Well,
to
they don't,
any
yeah.
of my calls or requests regarding issues with us, other than was the check on time? Well, it never is,
Yeah.
but did you get it?
so they're not being asked to spend any money for the upgrade.
Right, yes,
As long as if they're not being asked to spend money for the upgrade, they're gonna be quiet, but.
Right.
And one of these days, I just see DEC or somebody coming in and saying, you've got a deadline.
They're gonna force the issue.
right. And honestly, it's just want my honest opinion, it's never gonna happen until that happens. Well, no, not never. I
It
think
may
it'll be
take
slow
that, yeah.
until that, yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should rush that as a mechanism to speed this forward, though,
Okay.
because if that happens, we won't like the terms that we then become under,
No,
yeah, so.
I'm trying to prevent that.
On the balance sheet, are there long-term assets or capital assets that should be showing?
Yeah, so that's a question that we have with our auditor now. So right now, the assets sit on the IDA's books. And we transferred ownership to them, but the IDA is the sole shareholder. They should be on here.
So
Yes, they should be on here. That'll be something that we'll work through outside of the audit season.
thank you.
All right, Shep's building.
Oh, this is, a bunch of these are just quick updates. So 9 Meredith Street, we had a zoning board of appeals meeting on Tuesday. For the new building that is proposed, it is seeking a setback variance from its back wall. by code is supposed to be 25 feet. We're requesting it be reduced to 5 feet. There were no issues in that regard raised at the ZBA meeting. But prior to acting, they felt it was best that they kick it over to the county for 239 review because it involves a project right on major highways. It's disappointing that that wasn't done at a prior meeting. And they apologized for the oversight. I think there's, look, the village of Delhi is losing its code enforcement officer, so things like this are gonna happen.
To retire.
Yes. Yeah. So another reason why we need countywide code enforcement, but
Yes.
Do you think now's the time to talk about that again?
I talked to Tina about it earlier this week or last week, yeah, it's,
Tommy Tompkins going 3 or 4 times now.
and
You
he,
can't, man, you can't.
and he's looking to retire soon.
Yeah.
So what the problem is the towns that have one, they're like, nope, we're not doing, we don't agree. Oh. I'm not saying anymore. No. Yeah, I know, I forgot. Yeah. There isn't unanimous support for
Oh, I
this
get
at the county level.
But there should be, because a lot of the towns are losing.
It's costing the county a fortune. And, in missed tax revenue, it's also exposing every municipality to legal action should a calamity happen because of lack of inspections.
Yeah.
It's huge. And it's been held out. The village of Delhi got caught in a huge lawsuit with a student that ended up in a wheelchair because of failure to inspect. So it's a real exposure.
Yeah, especially right now with construction at all levels high.
Yeah.
Just
And these Airbnbs. People are buying these older houses, converting them to an Airbnb. Who knows what modifications are being done, what safety equipment's in there and so forth and so on. Nobody's paying attention.
Right, but at the town level, there are part-time jobs, so there's usually.
Oh, I get it.
Where if it came under a county.
Hmm.
You could hire 10 to do the whole county or 8 to do the whole county, full-time job with benefits, they're gonna get people who are gonna stay and do it. It's a very frustrating job, if you're doing it part-time, you got contractors mad at you constantly. The money there right now, I already put my hours in the week. I'm done, you gotta wait till next week.
And hardly a week goes by that I don't pick up the local paper and see a big story about a rift between the code enforcement officer and the public. And it's all lack of professionalism. It
No,
needs to be tidied up.
it's because of those, they're not paying a decent wage.
Oh, I get it.
Can't live on part-time.
I think that's why Tommy does 4 times. So
I think all of them do. major
Yeah, they do that,
wage.
they
That's
turn
the
it
only way
into a
to-
full-time
That's
job.
the only way to do it.
Yeah.
And then the
But
coverage
you
is,
still don't get no benefit.
right, that's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, but anyway, so back to that,
I'm
so
gonna get in
basically
trouble.
that's just gonna push us back. ZBA approval will be now scheduled for July 11th. And then planning board in August, and then that will be clear to move forward. Item D, I think we're gonna address it later on.
Yep.
Item E, Sean, we're gonna punt till the next meeting.
I think so, yeah.
Okay, yeah, Sean was doing some work for us on that site in Sydney.
Mhm.
He wasn't able to get it to a point that it's ready to present yet. Item F, sale of property, so that's moving along. So the individual went on vacation, he's back, he didn't have a local attorney, we recommended one, well, our attorney recommended one. They're now working, talking about closing lists and everything in process, so That's moving forward. So Tiberio Custom Meats, we have a public hearing scheduled for June 27th on the pilot agreement. We were, what?
That's not very big.
For the pilot agreement.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, then also, we started the town planning board approval process 2 weeks ago, something like that, a couple Tuesdays ago. And there's a public hearing scheduled for. Now,
Correct date, what, the 11th maybe, or?
I don't think, oh, yes, it is, July 11th. Yes, I know that because I'm out of town, yes. July 11th, there will be a public hearing for Tiberio Custom Meats for the planning board. You know, this had been approved previously at the town board level, just due to time lapse. They have to go through the process again. There's no concerns about anything there. We went through the planning board process meeting. Everybody was in support of it. No issues were raised, but this is part of the process.
Glenn, you want me to cover that meeting? Go ahead.
I was gonna ask you to cover zoning board of appeals in Delhi, and I was probably gonna send Lindsay and Sean.
Okay. You want me and Delhi then?
Yeah, he already did that once and he told me the meeting was at 6 and we got there and it wasn't, and it was at 7:30.
And yes, and what did I do?
You
I
made,
said, go home. I will leave my son's academic awards program and come down to the meeting.
it was probably
at
better that
7:30.
way, because somebody said that it was it was a meeting that I would know nothing about and how to respond.
Learning experience.
You could have bought them dinner at TA's.
Yeah. Or said, oh, wait for me there and I'll pick you up after the meeting.
The ZBA's at 6.
What's that?
ZBA.
Yeah, no, they're open.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so, and that's Tiberio, so everything's moving along there, you know, they're getting final term sheets. From banks for financing, so everything's moving forward on that.
Great.
I think that's all I have under updates. I'm gonna hit number 5 as just a quick update, just because. This is very new and gotta keep this one close to the vest. But we, just to make you guys aware that something may be coming in the future, we've been asked by a local. By local, I mean Delaware County, an employer in Delaware County, to potentially work with them on some employee housing related issues that may end up resulting into a housing project. Which they would be a partner in. We've only had one initial phone call. I've had a couple this week. In addition to it, we've got a couple different options for moving forward. And just wanted to bring it to your attention that I don't think there would be anything before July, but just throwing it out there. Something's coming, hopefully.
Good.
And then, oh, I have the old agenda. I don't know if I was on the right number when I.
No, number 5 is on Lindsay's.
Oh, yeah, I did. I was gonna do that. Sorry, I made you sit through 1 minute extra, Lindsay.
That's okay.
All right, so now. I'd like you all to direct your attention to Lindsay.
He's the worst. I was fine when he wasn't here. Okay, so as I'm sure all of you have heard and read, we are working on a new project, we hope, with local school districts. However, that might be withdrawn considering that there are very strict rules with schools. So I'm looking to implement a vending machine into local school districts with a staple of Clerk's milk. Very popular, excellent product, locally made. I think it would be in the best interest for us as far as getting the word out there that the IDA is, really putting a project on the line and getting out there. with a locally sourced product, which I think is super important. So I would like to have a milk vending machine installed at a local school district as a pilot project to gauge student interest and project viability. Students would be able to purchase these products throughout the school day or before and after school and sporting events. I know I like a cold glass of chocolate milk after sporting events, so I would assume, many younger kids do as well. So Clark's Farmstead Creamery would be responsible for 100% of servicing requirements, including stocking, restocking, and collecting of proceeds. The vending machine would be owned by the IDA, so that would require an upfront investment of approximately between $4,000 and $5,000. So I've done a little bit of research on the vending machines. I cannot find any locally. I've tried. Any local vending machines basically want your service. They want to be able to come in, fill it with their products, and not just let me buy the vending machine. So therefore it would have to come by freight, and that would cost between $450 and $500 for shipping. The IDA's role would be to help purchase the vending machine and be the primary holder of the piece of equipment. I believe the IDA may also be responsible for the maintenance of the vending machine and may opt to require a percent of proceeds to, what's CFC?
Clark. Farmstead.
Okay, did not put that together.
I added that.
Okay, for the use of the machine either from or after an initial startup period. So we talked to Kyle, he was super interested in it. And you don't have this paper, but I'll get to that in a second. So I feel that this is a very important project, and that it will fit the IDA's mission to promote and local industry and products by proudly displaying and selling the famous Clark's chocolate milk or regular milk or cold brew throughout local school districts. And the IDA can further its mission in a visible way throughout the community. Opportunities and obstacles to distribute local products throughout the county, like I said, reestablish the importance of local dairy products for our youth. I went to the youth awards, the Dairy Youth Awards in Andes on Friday. Very excellent. They haven't given any out in 4 years. So it was great to get there and basically promote the importance. Another opportunity would be for the IDA to generate awareness in the community. Like I said, when I went to my meeting or my conference, it's important to really advertise what the IDA's role is in the county. Some of the things that we are having some issues with is finding maintenance, because we're buying it outright. We are going to have to find a service provider. So I was thinking either Ouster, Houghton, Oleana, or Kennedy, which recently opened locally. Another would be that this may be a long-term commitment for the IDA. And another obstacle is that we're having issues getting school districts to get on board with us. So if all else fails, we will try the SUNY Delhi. Projects and milestones. I feel that placing a vending machine
Policies can be changed. I don't know.
Yeah,
Well,
so
you
one
guys
of
know.
the issues with the school districts
They
is
enter into
that
contract.
milk is still considered to be unhealthy. And so there's momentum to change that at both the federal and state level.
right.
To have it come back, it still boggles my mind that you can't have full fat milk, but you can have fake cheese nachos as part of a healthy lunch, but you can't add milk to that. But anyway, so there are some issues, there's some question, at least in my mind, of what the regulations actually state and what they're interpreted as for sake of ease. And so that's an area that we're gonna continue to explore. But as Lindsay says, she's already thought of a potential backup as being SUNY Delaware. Yep, and or the BOCES districts, because the BOCES have asked Kyle to put a milk
Montessori
bid
school.
in, and he's like, no.
You say the Montessori school?
Good thought.
Yeah. that
Yes,
is a good
and
thought.
that would be a great one too. They
Yeah.
don't have those types of things.
No, they can actually make a decision.
Yeah,
And
Sorry.
You would
this,
all students, but.
this is very, very important. Pennsylvania's been pushing their legislators to address the FDA about whole milk in schools. I get tons of articles on it. New York State also has just had a couple congressmen are starting to push for the same thing. So if we could show a history that kids, they've already determined that kids have not lost weight because of the no whole milk in school. Especially when they have access to McDonald's every day and blah, blah, blah.
well, now studies show that it's actually the exact opposite.
Right,
Yeah,
but if we could get one school with a vending machine where the school is not giving the milk, the vendors are. We can show a history of how well that is and that kids want to drink milk. That might help persuade more of the FDA to reconsider this. 3 months ago, they were talking about taking chocolate milk out of school because they were saying chocolate milk is no longer.
Correct.
This is ridiculous.
Bordering on nuts.
I'm trying to set up a meeting with Peter Oberacker and Chris Tague for another issue outside of this.
Mhm.
Maybe I could combine them with
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
conversation about this exact issue. And I can't remember which one of them is on this, to the Senate or Assembly Ag Committee.
Who was here a couple weeks ago? He's on the ag.
Well, it's
He's on
it's
federal.
Oh, federal.
Yeah.
that's Molinaro.
Molinaro.
Oh, Marlon.
Mark Molinaro.
Yeah, but it's gotta be changed at the federal level, not the state level, because the FDA is the one.
Yeah, you gotta start at the federal level.
Yeah, milk is unhealthy.
Right.
And Bob Bishop was just named to one of Molinaro's committees.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good.
So it was an ag committee that he was named to, so. I think we could get some governmental support.
Instead of
Very
going,
glad you're undertaking this. I think it's super.
instead of going through all this stuff where we buy the machine and then we have to find maintenance and everything else, what if we buy a machine? If you get an agreement with a school, give them the machine, get it off of us.
Well, I think
I think
that'll run us into new roadblocks.
Because then the school is promoting the milk, which is against.
No, I don't necessarily think of that. It's just one more thing
Right,
for
but
them to.
But if they own the machine, then they're violating, because they're promoting milk consumption at school, so I think it's better if the school is. Just says, here's the spot, you can put it, and that's all we have to say.
As far as the maintenance, I think most of the problem with maintenance on a machine like that's gonna be refrigeration or electrical.
Right.
And SUNY Delhi's got a whole pile of students up there. And
Yeah, and also, we're just trying to think of everything. I mean,
Yeah.
how often is that actually
Right.
going to happen and what's the nature of it? I
but
mean,
I was thinking maybe we could contact SUNY and say, would you be interested in working with us on the maintenance of this machine?
mhm.
Certainly, I mean, they have their HVAC programs.
Yeah.
The Patty would be the ones to talk to. In a meeting several months ago, we talked about some of their new equipment they're putting in that were exactly that type of machine. But milk never crossed the border, so it was. I don't want to say junk food, it was supposedly healthier food, but it was late night snack type stuff, but it was fresher food. But I think Patty might have an interest in having that conversation.
Okay, perfect. I'll reach out to them.
Good job.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great.
So she did some work on the fight, it'll work out. It's not a huge moneymaker, at least because we were very conservative. Lindsay was very conservative in terms of the numbers she was projecting. And it depends on the venue. It may be realistic at a school. I think if it was someplace that's a 24/7 facility like a college, then it's probably vastly,
It's a test.
yes. Right.
I think the value of this to us is in promotion that we can get by doing this.
In the college, I would think it would be successful if it's in the dorm room lobby or something, so they probably serve milk in the cafeteria.
Oh, yeah, they definitely
I
do.
don't think.
Yeah, no, yeah, still, I think the vending, so I'm thinking, because I agree with Lindsay, I mean. Everybody loves the ice cold chocolate milk after you work out. I'm thinking
love
of
it
vending
anytime.
machine up in the rack. You know, up in the athletic center,
Yeah.
where they have multiple vending machines for soda.
Right.
They don't have a single thing for milk.
Good.
And again, caddies, they spend a lot of time based on their presentation, they spend a lot of time positioning their healthy pool machines for foods, for late night, those types of activities, supposedly studying for finals, those type of things. But I can get you the name of the person to talk to in caddy. Christina's up here, right? Yeah,
Oh, she's not over there?
but she's not the director of caddy.
Oh, yeah.
So we may as well start
Right to the top. Yeah, absolutely. You can open doors I can't, Wayne. That's why you're here.
It's true.
That's, let me get you.
Be the key.
Okay.
So there's no need to do anything on this right now. All right.
I mean, our target would be for September
Okay.
anyways. Lindsay, did you ever talk to them about what lead time on a machine is?
It's about 4 to 6 weeks, so if we're pushing for September and all goes as well, I'm hoping to by maybe like the first week of August, get back in contact with the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Providers.
Did Sam's Club used to sell this machine? People buy them at Sam's Club.
I have no idea.
I don't know what kind they are.
Never
And
heard.
another problem that is, I have run into is that vending machines now are all credit card, Apple Pay,
Yep.
and that's a problem. We want cash and coin, that's it.
That's like the kids in the school.
Right.
Right.
I mean, we could change our minds if we decided to go SUNY Delhi route, because I'm sure all of them have cards.
Yeah.
Yes,
Most of the high school
yeah,
kids.
because they have a program called Bronco Bucks.
Right.
They started, but that's what they use for those machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, how they meal plan and somehow it's tied into these machines now. I don't know how they accomplished that, but
Okay.
I'm hoping that we're not gonna make this part of the meal plan and this will just be,
you should absolutely.
yeah, out of pocket.
But if they could take Bronco Bucks, that really facilitates the access. to it.
I'll talk.
Yeah.
At the Dome in Syracuse, there's no place you can spend cash.
Yeah. And that's fine. We're just worried that in a high school that doesn't work.
The scalpers outside still take care.
Yeah, they do.
That's me how I know.
Yeah.
Oh. Not from that side. Uh,
All right, any other?
Same for them little hugs outside.
How do we see?
What? What's that?
You would wanted to do an executive session.
I was gonna say, we've got to do the one for the Walton property, and
Yes.
we got to do the loan. So I thought I'd combine the two under the LDC.
Sure, LBC is the technical owner of that property. That is great. Yes.
Okay. Under old businesses, like how we stand with all these, any progress on them?
I haven't heard from Wojtek in a little bit. I'm continuing to reach out to him. Yeah.
Is that like the homes that
They've gone to the planning board, right?
I don't do Sydney, I'm not sure.
Well, okay, so I'll say this. It's out in the community. Has it been formally announced? No.
Yeah, I just.
Yeah.
Jumped the gun.
Yeah.
Cause I've had a ton of people asking me what's going on.
Yeah.
I know nothing.
Yeah. Not at this point.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So,
but
yeah,
trees.
so that's just.
Okay, so you'll follow up. with
Yes,
him.
yep, I'll stay on him. I went through yesterday planning out my to-do lists. So yes, he's right on it.
Any other old new business? I have a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn.
And thank you, and I will open the LDC meeting. I'd like approval for the minutes of May 19th.
So approved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor,
Aye.
opposed?
And that's-
Abstain.
The financial report, treasurer's report, the loan report and invoices. I need a motion for them.
So,
Second, all in favor.
Aye.
Glenn, you want to do an update on the CARES Act?
There. Supposed to leave the keys in the car, all times.
So then we can feel it.
So then you don't lose the keys.
You lose them with somebody else and drive it away with it.
Exactly. Especially one with transmission problem.
Oh, okay.
I hope it's gone.
Yeah.
Window down and a sign on it, please take me.
I leave the keys in my Volkswagen if you want them.
We're recording.
I would like it.
Okay, so where are we at now?
CARES Act.
Oh, CARES Act. Yes, so ahead of you, or in the packet was a list of all of the awards being made in round one under the CARES Act program. These have all been approved and verified by the state. We still have some that are pending. We still got some more work to do. And even after this round of funding, there is a small remaining amount. That is because a couple projects did not make it through the state review process. So we will have a little bit of extra funding there to be made available in round two. But we gotta move very quick because this has to be wrapped up by September 7th. So, so anyway, so I'm bringing it to the LDC board. These are county funds, but they're being administered through the local development corporation. So all of these have been approved by the county. And just seeking a resolution from the LDC to approve because we will be entering into contracts and then issuing checks to all of these recipients.
Now, are these income to them or?
It will be, yeah.
It'll be 1099.
Yep.
Is that our responsibility or we?
It is Tabitha's responsibility, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yes, so we do send them the 1099. Yep.
Glenn, do you have any thoughts on a project for the leftover?
There's a couple people who have reached out and haven't followed up. So I'll reach back out to them, but if there's anybody people know of, then we would be interested in speaking with them as well. So if any of the board members have ideas or people that you know of that didn't show up on this list.
And,
You know, the criteria can be tough to meet, so it turns into a problem. Because you have to create a job, and so when you're helping somebody for the purpose of the fact that they lost their shirt, you know, due to COVID. And don't have any money and say, okay, we'll give you some money, but you have to hire a person. It makes it a little bit more difficult. So, you know, our initial list was probably twice as many. Some dropped off because of prudence and some dropped off because just couldn't meet the requirements.
is it income based?
There's income components to it.
All right,
Wait, they had to lost so much in volume, business income.
Yeah, they have to have loss of business income or substantial change to their operations and resulting in job creation. So substantial losses to your operation that results in job creation. How often does that happen in business, Wayne?
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
Didn't that money have to go towards a specific project or?
Yes, but we defined what the project is. So let's say you are a business that income went from whatever down to zero. Well, your project is the fact that you continue to pay your mortgage bill, your utility bills, everything like that. Yeah,
Then
yeah.
this is the one that's very difficult to administer.
Yep.
Okay,
And round,
so maybe it's. If we end up having to turn some money back, it's not that bad.
Well, the other possibility is about 2 months ago, when we had everybody on board, we were projecting in excess of roughly $5,000. With some of those businesses dropping and. So, about 2 months ago, we did a budget adjustment. The state was providing us with like 195,000 out of the total to use for program delivery and administration. At that time, we had a higher grant balance. And so we cut our program delivery and admin down to very low. If there's money left over, it is perfectly fine. We've got the costs incurred to justify it. To just bring that money back.
I would
into
say
the
put that back
organization.
in right now.
Yeah.
Go back up to your
Yeah.
original number. It was approved at that
Right.
level.
Yep.
I'd go right back to that level. We've
Yeah.
got the funding and we've got the approval.
So yeah, there's options for how we'll deal with that last 60, but there are two that are still doable projects that I'd like to at least give a shot to first.
so this. Round two is for the 60,000.
No, round two-
Is another 900,000 or?
Round two, so you take the, so I'm assuming. Pending for round two, yeah, those are other, so if. I'm assuming those round two projects are gonna get approved at the state level. We've approved them locally. We believe they meet the requirements. If they get approved, the 60,000 remaining assumes they're gonna get approved at the state level.
So that is the total for round two.
So,
I'd say give it a shot with the other two and don't make yourself crazy. with
yeah,
it.
you just don't have time to.
Enough's enough.
Okay.
Bump up your adjustment and be done with it.
So since that involves contracts and checks, did we get a resolution?
Would you like one?
Yeah, I would.
Okay,
I move we move forward with that plan,
all right.
rebuilding the admin.
Second. All in favor?
All right.
Thank you. Okay, now I'm gonna go into, or like a motion to go into executive session, please. Second.
For what reason?
To talk about a loan and a potential sale of a property. Okay, we're back from executive session. And we need to vote on a loan for the print house in Fleischman's. I have a motion to approve the loan.
I'll make the motion.
Second, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Any other old or new business? And can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Thank you. Appreciate your time. I know it was lengthy.